What's good, Pembroke Army, and welcome back to another episode of Warzone Wamblings. Today we've got Shane, Dogger, Domi and myself, and we are back on our first ever hunting ground, Vondel. Vondel, yeah, welcome home. I understand that Vondel is supposed to be a descriptive part of Amsterdam, but every time I try and do a Dutch accent, it just comes out German. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about my third book, An Absolute Monster. That's not the title of it, but I'm watching myself be an absolute monster with this sniper now. And you watch this, you line up that shot, boom, hit him once, he peeks back round, floor him again, sit down bitch, ich lieben Arschficken mit deinen Mutter. Please do not Google what that fucking means, mum. But talking about my third book, Insidious Valour, and today is the day that I send it out to my first editor, which is probably why I sound a little bit hyperactive today, but I'm in a good mood. I've put together this short video for you to watch, and just to give you a little bit of an insight as well in what the writing process for book 3 has been like compared to my first two books. And I've got to say, this book I have struggled with the most when it comes to, what's the word I'm looking for? Imposter syndrome. I've absolutely stunk with imposter syndrome on this one. It's because when I first started writing my first book, I heard this theory that the third book in the series is when you will start to pick up as an author, because you're not going to start outselling other authors with your first or second book. That's why in my Instagram bio I don't have award-winning or best-selling author, because I am not. The goal is to get there one day, and it would be nice, but I'm not that. And this book is my chance to get noticed some more and get a little bit of traction behind my writing career, which is why the imposter syndrome has been so strong. But regarding the story itself, the feedback I've had from 3 of my 4 beta readers is that it is their favourite of the series so far, or at least contending with it. And that's because of the changes that I've made to my, not so much my writing style, but the changes to this, the pacing of this book compared to my first two, because I could not repeat the same format or plot that I did in my first two books, because it then just becomes boring and stale. So what I've had to do is switch up with a lot more pace, and I've had to step out my comfort zone a hell of a lot. I can't even begin to tell you, but it's been fun, it's been enjoyable. But that is where the imposter syndrome has come from, because I'm learning something new and I am taking it on board. And when it comes to me actually opening the book and getting back to it, I mentioned this in an Instagram post that I actually enjoy rereading it. I'm very happy with this product. I can't wait for people to read it. But the imposter syndrome comes before that. It's actually getting to opening the laptop itself. I feel like there's this monster on the screen just going to stare back at me. But that's not the case. I know what I've written is probably better in terms of my actual writing quality compared to my first two books. And anyone who was a beta reader for my first book especially, you will know that I had to go through some major changes and edits because it was very repetitive, but I've learned so much, and book 3 is requiring less rewrites and re-edits. But I do have a few final things I need to polish up before I send to my editor. Just a few plot points that maybe were a bit rushed or I could flesh out a bit more. But overall, the story itself is flowing so much better than I could have predicted. But the actual feeling of writing it has been 10 times more scarier than I could have ever imagined. Even though it's my third rodeo, the imposter syndrome has been harder on this one, but I've been enjoying learning from it and just pushing through, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to do when it comes to something that you're passionate about. It's not always going to be smooth sailing, so you have to jump and defeat those hurdles when they get in your way. So I've learned so much from that, and the imposter syndrome has been kicking my ass, but I've been kicking it back just as hard. But something else that I've learned or also taken inspiration from is actually music albums. I mentioned this on my first ever podcast of Warzone Wamblings. Sorry, my cat Skyler has got the fucking hypes now. What are you doing? Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I mentioned in my first podcast, my first Warzone Wamblings, which was titled The Alien 3 Effect, of I was worried about my third book going down that route of it not really working, them trying to be bigger, better, and not really stick to what made the first two movies that great. So what I've done with this is drawn inspiration from the third albums of my two favourite bands, Korn and Slipknot. And their third albums are a massive switch up from their first two. But the reason that this works is because they stay fundamentally true to their core elements, but it is a totally different sound to the first two, so it is new and refreshing, and that is exactly what I have done with Insidious Valour. It stays true to the world that I've built, but I've added something new to it, this newer dimension, this newer pace. it is a lot more action heavy, so I've been trying to find that balance of, I've mentioned it before plenty of times, of it actually being cohesive action and not just rapid fire stupidity, just to keep the readers on their toes. So I'm finding that balance between what I should flesh out and what I should make quick and so fuck off Skyler should make quick and snippy has been probably the hardest learning curve, and probably contributed to the imposter syndrome, you know, quite a bit. But I've been getting over that and just understanding more my characters, because within this high action, high pace, a lot more characters' lives are on the line, which means I have to flesh them out even more to give them more humanity, understanding and reasoning for their actions. So yeah, all of the females in the book are the ones you've come to know and love. Well, not all of them, particularly Hannah, but Jen, Cassie, Eliza, who was briefly mentioned in the second book, even Ryan's daughter Maisie. There's all changes into their personality of how they're just coping with this situation and pushing past with life itself, really. It's been a lot of fun to write the women and the men as well. Obviously, I've mentioned Blood Ryan is coming, so Ryan's path to me has made sense, and it's got one of my beta readers on edge who's already gagging for the fourth. Skyler, fucking hell, is already gagging for the fourth book, which is, I take that as a huge compliment. Ryan's journey has been there. Drinker is thoroughly enjoyable to write. I can't put into words how nice it is to write a character like that, and he's stepped up in sort of Mikey's absence, but all these other characters as well, to give you an insight into their mind, especially with Harper and Rook, with the second part of the book being dedicated to just them. You get to see them more as humans and not just people that Ryan's met. So it's been a long learning curve when it comes to writing your third book. I think if you are writing your third book, you should definitely look to switch something up, just so it doesn't become predictable to your readers, essentially. But finding that balance of writing what your readers enjoy about whatever you're writing is, and also adding something fresh, is a fine line to cross. But that's all of my rambling for today. I've had to do this in pretty much 2 takes because I've got to get back to my book. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, or if you found me through some other link, please subscribe. I hugely appreciate all the love and support so far. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a cheeky like. And if you're looking forward to me finally getting back to the Beyond Fiction series, I am getting back to it next week. I had to cancel the 2 videos I was going to do because they were just way too painful. So I'm going to go with a little bit more of a fun one, bit more comedic, still quite serious, but a lot more fun. As always, much love, take care, and peace.